Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Coaching Call podcast. On this podcast, we'll cover various types of coaching by trainers in sports, martial arts, fitness, and business. We'll discuss each coach's methods to getting the most out of their respective athletes or clients and how they attempt to change the platform in which they coach. Join us on a fun adventure as we discuss unique coaching styles. Coaching is a universal part of how we get others to get something done. Join your host, Raphael, and his guests on this unique journey in coaching.
Hi, I'm Sifu Raphael, and this is the Coaching Call podcast. If you enjoy this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. This episode was made possible by listeners like you. Jessica, thank you so much for joining me on Coaching Call. How are you today? There you go. I'm not hearing you, Jessica.
What about now? I am so excited to be here.
Yes, thank you. So it's not like we're next door, right? Tell me where you're located.
I am in, don't let the accent fool you, not Australia. I'm actually in Glasgow in Scotland.
Oh, cool deal. And we met because of a really incredible human being.
Very.
Mom.
I
love
know.
And I know you love your mom too, so we have something in common there.
Look, I love her dearly. I'm also in business with her, and we have a very honest relationship. So it's not always sunshine and rainbows, but I will agree with you. She is an incredible woman.
So, Jessica, for me, it's always very interesting when I get to meet somebody. And for me, it's always about the connection. But to get to know you a little bit better, you and I have been working together, and I love the energy that you bring into it.
Oh, thank you.
But yes, absolutely. I want to get to know you even deeper, believe it or not. So the question that I always ask on this show is, tell me about your childhood. Where were you born? Where did you grow up before the age of 10? And who was your biggest influence?
So I was born in Sydney, Australia, and grew up in Brisbane. So it was sunny. It was, swimming pools, picturesque, amazing childhood. Scratch knees, building tree houses, all of the things. And from very early on, I understood. So I was one of 5 kids, so there's a bit of competition for attention. And I understood that I was always going to be loved, and there was nothing I could do to make my parents not love me. So I tried to push the boundaries as much as I could, and whether that was the tallest tales I could come up with, or, we used to sneak into the local nursery and, steal plants and things like that when we were younger. So I was a bit of a ringleader in getting my siblings to be, I wanna say adventurous, but naughty. And childhood was, I never knew, so little things. I never knew that mum and dad were struggling. I never knew that dad ran his own business and mum helped, and I never knew that week to week there was issues paying the mortgage, or, I thought eating meat was a treat. I didn't know it was because they couldn't afford meat back then. And it was just a really, play in the mud, run around with no shoes on, know that you're loved, pretty picturesque childhood. Not saying that it wasn't without challenges and things like that, but to look back through 38-year-old eyes, it was fairly spectacular.
Nice. Nice. So before that age, and you were having your siblings do naughty things, what what do you recall of your influencers back then? Maybe outside of the family, or maybe it was a teacher, maybe it was your mom or your dad or another sibling.
Mm.
Tell us about them.
So I had a drama teacher from, her name was Olivia, and again, she would have been 10 years younger then than I am now. She was in her mid-20s, maybe early 20s when I started going to learn from her. And I would have been about maybe 6 or 7 when I started going to her. And she was just the coolest person I'd ever met. She went to theatre and she knew things, and she seemed so free, and she had this curly, crazy curly blonde hair, and she also was from a big family, and I just became enamored with her. I thought she was spectacular. And then I became friends with her siblings. We all did plays together and toured and da da da. And when I was 10, I wanted to be Olivia Hill. She was just the coolest, as I said, the coolest woman I'd ever met. Yeah.
You got muted a little bit. All I heard last was that she's the coolest person you met.
Yeah, she was. I do apologize if there seems to be an issue with the internet. Glasgow big, thick walled buildings usually don't let me down, but they may not be fighting for us today.
I am getting the message of how enamored you were with her. Did you want to be like her? Is that something that you like? I want to be just like her.
Absolutely.
Mm.
I outwardly told people that I wanted to be a star, but I wanted to be a drama teacher. I wanted to be able to make, and maybe selfishly, I
Mm.
wanted to be able to make other people feel as good as she made me feel.
Very cool. Very cool. So, and you wanted to be a drama teacher.
Like theater, drama.
Yeah. Not comedy.
No, no, comedy as an art. Oh, that is a really tough nut to crack. People who can do stand up and write comedy are it is a particular kind of genius. And I don't think I had any idea about what that would be at 10, and I still can't even fathom it at 39 now.
So
38. I'm not aging myself, 38.
you're thinking in the future.
I'll still feel the same then.
Sure you will. And you definitely don't look your age. You look like a young 20-something. So
Oh,
whatever you're doing, keep it up. It's interesting when we think about people who write comedy or even comedians, because not everybody who writes comedy is a comedian. It's kind of
mm,
weird, interesting, but it's every word, if you think about it, is calibrated because it can't be a long, drawn out paragraph, even, right? For that sentence. It has to be really, and like I said, calibrated words so that they hit at the right and exact time in order for it to be a successful joke.
absolutely, and also the understanding that you need to have of the environment in which you're making the joke, the way in which the joke is directed, the situation that the joke is about. It is such an in like, the introspection and introspection that you need to have on society to nail a good joke, to write a good joke, is you really need to be absorbing it all and really connecting.
Yeah, without a doubt. So your drama teacher was somebody who influenced you. Can you give us some takeaways that have helped you even today because of her?
Yes, I can. And it doesn't paint me in the best light, but
Mm.
when
Uh-oh.
I was maybe 14 or 15, and I'd started helping her teach, and I had groups of students, and I was getting to be a bit of a rebellious teenager, and she had brothers that were my age, and we would, go and do, say we were somewhere and be somewhere else, things that teenagers do. And we went into our studio one day, and someone had, with fake snow, graffitied SNO on the wall. And she was asking everyone who it was. It wasn't any of us, to my understanding. But then I got dared, and it's really interesting. This is something that has stuck with me for so long. I got dared to write the W. I found the can of fake snow and I wrote the W to complete the word on the wall. She asked who it was. I lied. Someone else came forward eventually because they felt really bad. And she wasn't mad at me. She completely understood why I had done it. But the knowledge that I had broken someone's trust just absolutely debased me. And that is a lesson that I have carried with me ever since then, about the importance of trust and respect and the bonds that you make when you work with people. And yeah, a great lesson to have learned.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
exactly a direction that I'm proud of that got me there.
Interesting. And at such a early age as a teenager to even understand the concept of trust, because we understand that when we lose someone's trust, it is super hard to get it back.
Oh, yeah, and at that point, at 15 or 16, the comprehension wouldn't have been fully rounded, but it would have been the shame and humiliation of letting someone down, I feel, which then would have led into that, well, why do I feel these feelings? I feel them because we had a relationship and respect and trust, and because this has never left me, it is something that I continue to reflect on
Mhm.
often.
Very interesting that it's a lesson that has carried with you even till today, because you could have said, "Yeah, I got in trouble, and that's it, right?" And somebody tattled on me, but considering that the effect that you realize, and it wasn't a terrible, terrible thing that you did, yet she also was big enough to understand why you did it. And
Yeah,
a lot of people don't do those things, right?
and she would have only been, as I said, at that age, she would have been in her early 30s,
Mm,
maybe only 30. So having that understanding of the world and realizing that jumping down my throat probably would have embarrassed me, but it would have drawn a massive wedge. It wouldn't have been very productive, and I would have pulled away and probably become more rebellious.
mm,
The hindsight or the foresight that she had, just as a person, to have that conversation when she would have been feeling hurt and disrespected, but to be able to take a pause and not do it publicly, to pull me aside and have a conversation, it is, yeah, it's a huge show of her value system, and probably one of the reasons that I idolized her was.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. Nikki Cruz is with us, and she says, "Thank you for your vulnerability and great reminder to be so aware." And then she says, "Your value system shows in this story."
Oh,
And
thank you, Nikki. Values are very important to me, I believe, as they should be to everyone.
it should be.
We're all allowed different ones as long as you stick to them.
Yeah, unfortunately, not everybody sees it that way. And I think this is why the world is so divided. When we can build that trust, when we can be vulnerable and admit what we've done wrong, right?
Mm,
To rebuild that trust. One of the things that I always say is two things that are very hard to get back. One, we could never get back, and that is time. And the second one is super difficult to get back, and is trust. Right?
mhm.
If we lose money, we can always make it back. If we give money away, it's a great thing. And a lot of people put value in the wrong thing. They
Very
put
true.
monetary value on things when time is critical and when trust is also critical.
Mm. I read this amazing quote yesterday, actually, that said, and I can't remember who said it, so someone will know. It said that time flies, but luckily you're in the pilot's seat, which I
Mm,
thought was a really beautiful spin on that idea that time does just pass us by. It is that reminder that we can be in control of how we spend our most valuable resource.
mhm. Let's go back to your teenage years.
Of course.
So you were helping to teach this course. Why do you think you were selected to do so?
I whether it has been something that I have believed or whether it has been a fake it till you make it
Mm,
situation at the time, I feel like I come with a sense of authority, whether it is comes from being one of 5 kids where I've had to speak up and be loud and be heard, whether it comes from, an inflated sense of didn't feel like I had a huge amount of confidence, so I had to really fake it and push it forward and appear to have extra confidence. I I liked to put myself in situations where I would be able to guide or be in charge. And helping with the teaching, I was studying AMEB and at the Trinity College London, their exams, doing it via correspondence and doing the teaching level of those exams. So it was something that, I mean, it was great experience for what I was doing. It was really helping out Olivia. And I feel that for some reason, people listened when I would talk. So I whether it was selected or whether I strong-armed my way in is to be debated.
yeah. You know, you have a great way of articulating your ideas, and I think that's where your leadership truly shines, and it's so beautiful. And I've seen it firsthand, but it's the way you articulate and the way you convey the messages that you're giving to people. So I definitely understand whether it was apparent then or it became more apparent in your later years. but I see it truly apparent today.
Oh, thank you so much.
Absolutely. And so, who else besides Olivia would you say was a big influence into who you are today?
The one thought that I can't get out of my head was that I was going to marry Elvis or Sam Cooke without knowing that both of them weren't alive. So, uh, music was really important, and I feel that the idea of pop culture and what not necessarily was in vogue at the time, but how things can help express emotions were really influential. I grew up in a household, we talked a lot. And you probably got some insight from this from all the amazing chats you've had with Kat, my mum. But in the talking, there wasn't a lot of focus on feeling. And we had this view of being a really open and connected family, and we were.
Mm.
But feelings weren't facts. They were a bit pushed down. There were certain ways to do things. So having influences that were feelings based, whether they were books or music or movies, were things that I really retreated into as a way to explore what those feelings meant, I guess.
Mm. Mm. So let's talk through the stages of your career. How
Okay.
did how did you even realize that this is your superpower, branding? You're a master at it for sure. And understanding that, but you bring such energy to it. You're probably the first branding person I've ever come across who is excited about fonts, who is excited about color, who understands a vision of an individual, and you help them explore. You did that with me, so I am beyond grateful for what you have shared with me. But why is it that you, unlike so many other people I've had contact with, why is it that it's such a passion? And let's find out where that passion came from. What was your first endeavors or journey into what you're doing today?
So when I left high school, I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be on stages. I wanted to be writing bits of theatre that people put on. So I went to uni, and it was all about being up there and performing.
Mm,
And I don't know how conscious or subconscious the slip was, but I just realized that I wanted more control, or I was interested in the process of how the vision happened. And as I said, music has always been really important to me. And while this was all happening, being surrounded by a lot of creative people, I fell into doing PR for musicians. And then that led to working for quite a large boutique PR agency in Australia. And I got to shape narratives, by writing. And this is back in the day where you'd send out press packets. So
mm,
we weren't really doing much on email. It was you'd write your press releases, print them out, pop them in an envelope that you'd be sticking an address on with a CD or a whatever the case may be, sending it out, making a million phone calls to get reviews, lock in interviews, whatever the case may be. And I loved being able to be this generator for someone with much more outwardly spotlight shining creative talent than I had. Being
mm,
able to, you know, the arias are the Grammys of Australia, a lot smaller scale. And the first time that I had one of our artists win an aria because of it wasn't all me by any stretch of the imagination. They wrote the music, they performed it. But on this tour of this album that I was doing the press for, they stood up there and accepted their first award. And it was the feeling of being part of that was so palpable. So I changed my degree and I started studying communications. I then realized that I would have had to cut back on the work I was doing to finish that particular degree. And I thought, okay, I had a really big decision to make. Am I going to step away from industry experience that I've put all of this time into to go back to uni full time? Or am I going to do this full time and then do university or college part time? And much to my parents' disgrin, I stuck with slogging it out in the music industry. And then that led to different roles within entertainment. And I found my way into branding. And it wasn't that I never worked professionally in branding, but being able to see that there are all these department heads and someone is crunching numbers for what will work here, and someone's crunching numbers for what will work here. It just took the heart out of it. So when I started my own brand elevation company, my thought was, let's put the heart back into it. I get to choose who I work with. It gets to be people who are super excited about having their vision out there. I do. You got me started. I'm going to nerd out on this.
It's good. It's good. I love it.
But it is, I just get so pumped at someone else's passion and their story. And, when you've put all this work into your business, it's your baby. You've got so much symbolism and passion and everything in there. And being able to help someone clarify that process and make it something that is going to motivate a client or a consumer and connect. And whether that is through a clean font or a brand or a tagline or a message, it all starts from this same place of here. It's that why and that heart-led stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting when you get so excited for someone else's vision. Why does that actually excite you? Is it because you can see their vision, or because you're looking to impact your guidance to help their vision come to fruition? What is it? Why do you get excited for it?
That is a really good question. I feel that it's twofold. Part of it is when you are good at something and when you've found the place that you're supposed to be, doing where I get to work, I get to choose my hours, my clients, and still be able to, you know, I don't pay the whole mortgage, I split it with my husband, but still be able to pay the mortgage, live a life that I want to live and travel. And knowing that I can do that from something that I'm good at and brings me joy, that's one side of why I'm excited that I can share something that I'm good at with someone. The other side is that the feeling of being able to help someone express how they feel is, I mean, people who do inner work coaching or life coaching, they get to have this feeling all the time. They are really helping people get to the crux of their emotions and what motivates them. In what I do, I get to help someone clarify their own creative process. And I get to help someone step into their light. And I get to see them start shining and being really comfortable talking about who they are, because we get to the branding part of it all. It's not just, for me anyway, not just the logos and the font choices and all of that. It is being able to be in any situation and confidently connect with someone about what you do, why you do it, and why it's so important.
Mhm.
And watching someone get from here to there and seeing them shine is just, it must be what it's like having kids. It's just the most incredible feeling.
Wow. Wow. So you have this giving attitude. You're such an amazing giver. You bring a beautiful smile, but it's not just a smile, and it's not fake like we see so many people do. You're genuinely, from what I see, an extremely giving, happy person, and I can see it in your heart that when you are giving, you're smiling. You give it with such authenticity that it, it, it's um, it's beautiful, because a lot of people don't necessarily give with heart. They give because they're looking for something at the end of that, but you're looking to just. I think when you give, and you and I are very similar that way. When we give and we see someone else have joy from it, that fills us, right?
Mm. Yeah, and don't let the smile fool you. I'm not a
Oh, yeah.
pushover with the giving. I can be a hard ass when I need to be, but it's more important to, if you're choosing what you do and you're choosing how you spend your time, as you said, it's that most important resource that you have. Why wouldn't I choose to do something where I can smile the majority of the day?
Mm,
There's long nights, there's moments of doubt, there's honestly times where I put less effort into my own business branding because I'm doing it for other people. But
mm,
even then, the equilibrium comes out as still being so, is content but strivey. Is that a phrase? That's not real words, but being content where I'm at and
mm,
wanting to push forward and achieve bigger things, but not feeling stuck or lethargic or uninspired.
mm. Love it, love it. So if you allow me, I'd love to show you, and I know you've been part of it, show you and everybody else one of the biggest things that's going to be happening at the end of the year, November 22nd through the 24th. So let me share that quick video with you.
Yes.
Welcome to Speaking Prowess, where we believe in the power of communication to transform lives. If you're ready to take your communication skills to the next level, we have a lineup of some of the most influential communication experts in the industry. These are the voices that will guide you on a journey to enhance your ability to connect, influence, and succeed. At Speaking Prowess, our mission is clear: to empower you through effective communication. We know that mastering the art of communication isn't just about what you say. It's about how you say it and the impact it has on every aspect of your life. So take action now and get ready to embark on a journey towards personal and professional growth.
And that's happening. So,
That
Jessica,
is going to be epic.
it is. It is. I am thrilled that I'm going to be able to have some really high level I don't want to call them trainers. I don't want to call them teachers. I actually, forgive me, but I actually do want to call them trainers, but I don't want to call them coaches
Mm.
because a coach is going to coach you and they're going to hope that you do it. What we are going to do a little bit differently is that we're going to embed the knowledge into your being so that when you leave that Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon, that you feel that you've changed the way you communicate. And I know that's a huge task, but I believe in what we're doing and that will make a huge difference. But what I want to ask you is that you have amazing not only energy but insight to so many different things. You started working with your mom. Tell us about that. How did that come to fruition?
Yeah, so mum is an incredible mentor and trainer and coach. She's a public speaker. She has modalities out the wazoo,
Mhm.
and and this I don't fan base is the wrong word, but this coven of people whose lives she's changed who have now become coaches. Now, when she first started that work, I thought it was a cult, and
Really?
wanted nothing to do with it. This is 15 years ago. Wanted absolutely nothing to do with that work.
Mm.
Since having my own coach now and doing that sort of work all the time, I realize how important it is. But what we realized is that, and it might be different in the States, but in Australia, there's not really any kind of there's no real rules about who can be a coach and who can impact and impart and help mold people's lives. So what we wanted to create was Catalyst for Coaches, which is a place that people can come to learn how to do this business, this branding, this all the stuff that comes with being a business that is a coach, that isn't the coaching. And then also, CAT gives them constant, um, you know, professional development. There is always workshops and masterclasses and masterminds so that skills are really high, so that they're really comfortable talking about who they are. Essentially, we want to take over the world. Uh, baby steps, baby steps.
So your mom is Kat Valentine,
My mum
and
is Cat Valentine, yes.
I just want to make sure that when you say cat, people are not thinking of a feline, right?
Oh,
Uh, but I
yes.
think I see your mom more of a different feline, right? A fierce human being who is impacting not just a few people, but she's impacting people who impact others. So she's impacting top coaches around the world.
Mm.
And so how did
Who's your favorite
you
coach's favorite coach?
yeah, exactly. So how did you you said it was voodoo kind of stuff initially, right?
Mm.
Uh, how did that turn around for you?
I feel the same way it probably turns around for everyone who ends up going and looking at that kind of work for personal development. Life is not going the way that you want it to, and you've exhausted every other option. It there was the antidepressants weren't touching the side, the couple of bottles of wine every night weren't touching the side, nothing things were tick, tick, tick in a box. There was a good job, had a great apartment, relationship was fine, but that spark and that creativity had just gone, and everything that I had tried to either ignite it again or to dull what I probably knew was keeping it dull, to hush those voices down, that had all stopped working. So the only logical choice was to try the one thing that I swore I would never do, which is listen to my mother. And and she recommended a coach, and I started working with this woman, who is she gave me the permission to feel.
Mm.
And through that permission to feel, it meant that I was able to really uh, repair a relationship with Kat, my mum, that had been, again, fine. We loved each other so much. Love was never a question. I never had to question if anyone loved me. But we
Mm.
were so similar and had, as generational trauma comes straight on through. So we had the same fears, and we had the same desires, and we had the same frustrations. And she had been able to really start working through hers and learn how to live her best life. And by me working through that same process, we realized that our passions were so aligned. And I can't do what she does.
Mm.
I am not an inner work coach. I I couldn't begin to try and do that. But we get to both live lives that we want to live and do what we love. And when we live on opposite sides of the world, it's kind of nice to have some scheduled time, some scheduled business meetings
Mm.
to catch up. And it also means now our flights are tax deductible. So
So, considering you said you're not necessarily next door to your mom, how many
Mm.
hours apart are you guys?
Door to door is probably about, depending on the layover in Dubai, about 35 hours.
Oh my goodness! Wow, that's a vacation right there. So, when you have like Zoom meetings or stuff of that nature, you definitely have to adjust your schedule, and so does she. How many hours apart are you when you're on a call?
It's really interesting you bring this up. So we're 9 hours apart. She's 9 hours ahead. But the weekend just gone, we had one of our boot camps, which is in Australian time. So it meant that for me, it was from 11:30 p.m. through till 9 a.m.,
Mm.
which was it's an interesting experience. I think I'm gonna have to fly back to Australia for the next one. But it's interesting. The time difference never really seems that big until something like a boot camp comes up where you realize that you can't be together for the whole day. When, on a regular day to day, it's actually great because the business runs 24/7. There's
Mm.
always someone answering calls or emails or finishing touches on programs because someone's always awake. But when you have to be together, that's the finicky
That's the
part.
part.
And also putting boundaries in around, we can't always talk work. That's super important as well. That is, WhatsApp is for, WhatsApp and Messenger, that's for sharing pictures of the grandkids, that's for funny stories, that's for gossip. Email and that's for work. So there has to be that separation as well, so that there can still be a one part of our lives where we're complete equals, and one other part of our lives where she's my mum and I will always be beneath her.
You'll always be a little girl, right?
I'll always be a little girl, yeah.
I love it. It's and your mom is definitely a superstar. She was. We had a meeting for speaking prowess, and I think it was 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning that she showed up. It's like
Mm.
incredible as well. Um, So you just had a workshop or boot camp, if you will. How important are those for your business?
So important. The boot camps, this one was understanding your influence, which took these coaches through 16 hours in total over 2 days. We start with building your brand and getting to know your why. Then we talk about, get them to really focus in on who their ideal client is, because there's no point going to all this work to create your programs and get your branding done and do what you're going to do if you don't know who you're talking to and you don't know how to connect with them on a level that they're ready to hear you. And especially for coaches in the inner work sphere that have done so much work and have this incredible evolved language, their ideal client, if they are wanting to work with people that are experiencing trauma and really are stuck, the language that they're using in their day-to-day life may not necessarily resonate. So really getting them into the head of their ideal client is so important, because then we go through, how to get your message out there, how to frame it, how to use things like AI, and really importantly, with the rise of AI, how to use it as a tool and not use it as a fallback. Because information's everywhere, right? Anyone can get whatever information they want. They can go into ChatGPT and say, I want to, here is the web address for whatever kind of site they want. I want to learn how to communicate like this. Can you please create me a 5-step program to blah, 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 blah. Information is meaningless if there's nothing to help connect you with it so that it motivates you to take the steps through it. So these things are really important for our business, because it sets the coaches up to then ideally come in and join our year-long mastermind. And everyone in our year-long mastermind, they have access to the 4 boot camps a year. And what is really interesting is they come back and they'll almost do every one, because there's a different thing you will connect to each time, or you might be making a little change and you want to really focus on this part of your business. So I find it super important, not only for the people that are coming to these boot camps, but also for us to see what people, it's also straight up market research, right? What do people coming to us, what are their big frustrations, fears, and desires? What do they need in order to have their most successful and sustainable coaching businesses and be able to not just make ripples, but create tidal waves? And by having these boot camps, we get to, I would say the structure's the same, but each one is completely different, because we have a completely different group of people with completely different niches and distinct needs. So yeah, super important for the people coming into them. Also super important for Kat and I, because it is a quarterly real refresher of exactly what's happening in the market as well.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's incredible. So considering all that you're doing with your mom, I love how you both set boundaries. I think that's a critical aspect to your relationship with her. How do we, as individuals, learn that type of communication if we live with our partner? What if your mom and you were in the same household? Or what if you're working with your husband? How do we set those boundaries so that when we're working, we're fully focused on the work and not our day-to-day activities, the children, the this, the dog, the cat, the snake, whatever animals you have? How do we separate that and create those type of boundaries that when we are living our family life, that yes, business kind of seeps in, but how do we create that boundary?
Really interesting. I'm also in another business that my husband's an investor in, and the CEO is his best mate.
Mm.
And I'm on the board and, looking after the marketing, the customer journey, and that kind of thing. And we have we have what we call dog walk rules. So before we start a dog walk, we look at each other, and because the dog walk is the place we can talk, my husband and I, and we'll decide before each dog walk, is this a problem-solving dog walk? Is this a work problem-solving dog talk? Is this a work, whinge dog walk? Is this a life whinge dog walk? So we will set actual actual conversational boundaries. And I've learned a lot from communicating through him. He's an academic and a university lecturer, and he has to deal with, I get to deal with people who are really passionate. He has to deal with 200, 300 snotty-nosed kids.
Yeah.
Teenagers aren't snotty-nosed kids. They're 18, 19-year-olds. But, and PhD students that come from all over the world, different accents, different levels of English. And the way that he has absolutely got communication down to a fine art in terms of the boundaries that he'll set with his students for office hours or for when they can contact him on email. That's things that I've taken, and we've almost implemented them into certain parts of into our home life. There'll be
Mm.
times where I will go to have an absolute whinge about something, and he'll go, "Is this going to be beneficial?" I said, "No." And he said, "Do you really need to have this whinge?" And I say, "I mean, no." And he said, "Will it make you feel better?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Okay, how about we do something else instead?" So so good communication can be so frustrating, but I think it's really important to also be on top of it all the time. Communicate and about your communication in your household. Always be checking what those, and not necessarily pushing them, but checking what those boundaries are and being honest. If you're the biggest lesson I've learned is if someone is talking to you, they may not necessarily be wanting a solution. So
Mm.
before you offer a solution to them, just ask them. Ask them if they are just having a vent, or if they want to workshop this, or if they just want to get it off their chest and let it go and never to be spoken of again. So, yeah, to answer a very long-winded answer to your question, I would say
I
the answer to boundaries is just more communication.
Yes. It's very interesting how communication is really something that can drive a
Mm.
relationship closer or further apart, right?
Oh,
It's the words we
absolutely.
use with each other and ourselves.
Mm. Or what we don't say.
Mm.
If we don't have a grasp of how to communicate, this is when someone leaving a spoon the wrong way on the sink, leaving it this way, not this way,
Mm.
leads to a divorce in 10 years because it absolutely steamrolls because we were never able to communicate a small frustration or a small boundary crossing.
Mhm. It's quite interesting when we take something on that's so minor, and because we want it our way, we
Mm.
have a fight over it. We have an argument. I learned a long time ago that I should only get heated when a situation is life or death. Otherwise, I'm calm. And
Mm.
what? You didn't get mad at that? I'm like, are you upset? I'm like, no. And For example, my fiance will say sometimes, she goes, "Are you cranky today?" She just says it to bust my chops. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm so cranky. And it's because of you." So we kind of have a little laugh about it because she's never seen me really mad. She's never seen me uh, upset, yes, but not like I don't lash out. I don't get crazy because is it worth the energy that I'm going to waste on this minute thing that I think it's so big, but it's not big to you. So it's that perception that we need to be really keyed on. And your husband said it perfectly. Does this matter?
Mm.
And
But
it's
also,
so true. It's so
what you what you said is super important as well, is that I feel that in communication, whether it is with your partner, with someone that you're working with someone that you see in the shops, a sense of being able to have a lightness and a sense of humor about yourself and about the things that don't necessarily matter. I'm not saying laugh at someone and hurt their feelings, but being able to carry a lightness about yourself, I just feel that that leads to long-term being a lot happier. And
Mhm.
have you heard of the idea of the circles of influence? Where, you know, if if you realize that I'm here, my immediate partner's here, and then the person that might have made me grumpy is all the way down here, circle 12.
Mm.
Oh, I can laugh at that. That's fine. That's
Mm.
light. Your partner can bust your chops. My husband can bust mine. And I feel that that really helps with that long-term communication in a relationship and a business relationship as well, being able to have a lightness.
Mm.
I always said with the work that I do, I've always said, it's PR, it's not ER. I'm not saving lives. It's just PR, baby. Like
But PR is so important, isn't it?
Mm.
So you and Kat are both gonna be instructors for speaking prowess.
Mhm.
When your mom first told you about it, why did you, even say yes?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, when I first said yes, I thought that I would be presenting with Kat, and that's probably something that we may still do.
Mhm.
We have a really good vibe. I'm going to toot my own horn there. We work well together. What what really inspired me almost seems counterintuitive. It is because it is a this amazing platform that you're creating that is really focused around um, having an ease of corporate communication and being able to say what you mean and mean what you say in quite high stressful and high powered environments. It's not an arena that I usually work in, even though I work with CEO coaches and leaders on their own businesses. And I found it such there's something in me about being able to apply these same techniques. Communication is communication. And whether
Mhm.
you want to sell some toilet paper or get a $500,000 raise, you need to be able to go through the same steps of connection, clarity, and just have an all-round sense of confidence in yourself.
Mhm.
So that the idea that I could be bringing that with my style of communication to people who may not have thought about things from the way that I could spark their curiosity was titillating.
Mm. Beautiful, beautiful. You said something that, and I had to write a note on it because it really speaks volumes when you basically I wrote it this way. I put defined your money or your finances. And it's based on how you communicate, the way you communicate, the what you say to your clients, what you say to the people, for creating purchase orders, uh, even for getting a loan. I think it's the way you communicate the wants and the needs compared to even the difference between a want and a need, right? Because you
Mm.
can want a fur coat. Do you need a fur coat, right? You can want, a luxury car, but do you need a luxury car? Or
If your
could you
next example is shoes, then yes, I do need the shoes, whichever ones you're saying.
you need and you want the shoes.
Exactly.
I want them, therefore I need them. But it is exactly that. It's the way we communicate, and a lot of times is you made me also think about the realm of communication. And when you said communication is communication, it brought me back to how far we've come.
Mm.
If you can recall, before language was around, it was pointing, it was caveman style. They made sounds. There's so many funny things that I've seen where, um, starting a fire, all these things. It's how do we even get someone to understand what you want to accomplish? If you're hungry, there is pardon me. There's some real science to communication. There was somebody who said that babies actually have their own language, and they said it, and I think they were on Oprah, and I watched that video and I was like, that's interesting. And they said, when this baby makes this sound, this is what they want. When they make that sound, it's just what they want. And they showed the comparison, and it was so interesting to watch. But it's only because someone cared enough to pay attention.
That's
I think
so interesting.
that's where communication really can be such a beautiful thing. It's
Mm.
the intent and the willingness to listen and to pay
Mm.
it, right?
And I feel that that's also super important as a if you want to utilize communication for your business, right? Really understanding how you're going to be heard is imperative. The idea that the platform is more important than the message is kind of really outdated now. And if you are going to be able to truly connect with your audience and and have a real impact by using uh, Instagram and TikTok, for example, your message is still your message. It's no more important than, no less important than if you had that same message on LinkedIn or on your website or on a YouTube channel. We are feeling machines, and we have a drive to connect with people. And wherever that connection happens, amazing. Amazing, right? We have all these opportunities to connect and communicate and get our message across. I think it's magical.
It is. It is. Today, I put a post out there, and it was the power of a smile. So,
Mm.
smiling is contagious, right? And did you know it can actually improve mood and even reduce stress for yourself? But it can help someone else's mood. It can even reduce their stress with your smile. Not only are you doing it for yourself, but you're bringing it to someone else. So, today is a day to smile and share your smile. This way, you
Absolutely.
spread positivity, right?
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. Jessica, every time you and I have a conversation, you light me up. If you see it, I always have a smile when we talk. So thank you for today. You are a beautiful and incredible human being, and I am blessed to know you. So thank you for being here today.
Right back at you. It has been an absolute honor, as always.
Mhm.
Love chatting with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it would be so much fun to have you and your mom on the show together. That would be a blast
Mm,
for sure.
yes,
Let's make it happen sometime soon.
absolutely. I'll just sign her up. Done. I've got access to her calendar.
Wow, what time will it be for her now?
No, it's 1 a.m. It's a little early, or late, depending which way you look at it.
There you go. Jessica, thank you again for today. I really appreciate you. Everybody, do me a favor, follow Jessica. If you look at, and I'm going to put it on the screen again, if you look at her, and here it is, right? I gotta catch it right here. It is Catalyst for Coaches, and she talked about how important it is, and for people to be connected, but not only that way, but to understand how to even be a better coach. I suggest that if you're a coach, definitely go check her out and her mom. What a duo! Power, power, power.
You're too kind. Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, everybody. Have an amazing rest of your day, Jessica.
Will
Fun.
do.
I know you will.